I swear, everyone who makes these 30-day videos are like film majors, because how does everything come out so cinematic? What I usually see with these challenges is that instead of focusing on one area to practice in, people try tackling many different things all at once, but I didn't want to be all over the place, so I decided just to stick to learning how to draw heads from different angles. But even then, I still ended up being all over the place, and I'll tell you what I mean. Oh, by the way, I did pass my permit test if you were wondering. I'm not sure if you can like see it properly. I hate this photo so much. Hello? Why can't you, like, what is reflecting? Oh, the screen of the, okay. I made a video a while back where I mentioned I didn't have time to study for my permit test because I was spending way too much time on drawing. So even after barely studying, I still managed to pass. When people make these drawing every day for 30 days videos, they usually stop at the 30-day mark, but I figured I'd use this as a way to update you guys on my progress since I last made a drawing video, which was way back I'm talking way too fast. I figured I'd make this video to update you guys on my progress since I last made a video, which was way back on day 6 of teaching myself how to draw. I tried my best to draw every day, but on days where I couldn't draw or could only draw a little bit, I drew twice as much the next day to make up for the time I lost. Ooh, I almost pulled down my camera with my wire. I'm not going to spend too much time telling you about what I did between days 1 and 6 since I already made full videos for those, which you can check out. But here's pretty much what happened. Like anyone who wants to learn how to draw heads, I first studied the Loomis method. I watched a bunch of tutorials, mostly by David Finch, which at the time I remember having so much trouble understanding. But after watching nearly a month later, I can confidently say I still don't. As an additional resource, I also use a digital model as a nice 3D guide. And I also used a homemade model as a handheld reference, which came in quite in handy. Actually, I think I have it over here. Oh wait. So I stopped actually using it at this point because I didn't need it anymore, but here it is. Say hi to him. I never gave him a name, but I referred to him as Wheatley. Anyways, yeah. I wanted to get the head angles down and out of the way. I didn't focus too much on how to properly draw realistic faces just yet. I just wanted to learn how to whip out a drawing of a head from any angle, which sounds easy enough, right? Well, you're wrong. Now moving on to day 7. This was actually the first time where the stress of me not being able to draw really got to me. I was actually recording a video at the time for day 7 of teaching myself how to draw to have that full week compilation, but I ended up getting so stressed out after drawing just a few heads, I had to stop out of sheer frustration. Looking back on that day, it was honestly pretty silly of me to think that I was upset. It was literally the first week of me actually attempting to learn how to draw, which reminds me, I need to get over this using a reference as cheating mentality. Generally, who do I think I am? Obviously, I would love to strive to the point where I don't need a reference anymore, but for now, models will do. Day 8, I was going through my sister's old art supplies and I found an old sketchbook that she never used, and I'm telling you, it was love at first sight. Since my sister only draws digital now, she had no problem giving it to me, so I broke it in that same day. It's funny because looking back on these, I remember telling myself that these looked so amazing, and I guess you could say they were for the time, for only being day 8, but then that would be a lie. So moving on. Day 12, this was the early days where I first dabbled in using the X-Men characters as references, which honestly made the learning process a lot more enjoyable because I was drawing things that I actually liked. Before exclusively referencing Jim Lee's 90s X-Men, my references mostly consisted of watching the same exact David Finch video over and over again. So I'm really glad that I decided early on to reference art that I actually liked. Not to say anything bad about David Finch, mind you, just that it was a basic Loomis head that it was getting pretty old at that point. Which brings me to a, I'm so sorry, I feel like that's probably scared you, but anyways, which brings me to a surprise part of this video. Can you guess which X-Men character is which? Let's just call this Marvel's version of the Who's Who. If you don't know, that's a reference to DC's Who's Who series. I'll give you a moment now to pause your video to make your guesses. Are you ready? Okay, I actually have the page right here. I had the script there, but I'm not going to use that because I actually want to guess myself because I honestly forgot and I haven't seen this page in a while. So the answers are Storm, Colossus, I think Iceman, I think it's Colossus again. Yep. I'm 90% sure that's Cyclops. That's Domino, Nightcrawler. That's Polaris, really? Okay, whatever, that's Polaris. Wait, are these like out of order? I have a feeling these are out of order. Polaris, Jean Grey. Where's Polaris and Jean? Okay, wait a second. Okay, so I don't know. I think the script was wrong, but I think that's Jean Grey. And that's Rachel Summers, some lady named, what's her name? Gloriana? Okay. This is supposed to be Feral, but as you can tell, this is nowhere near complete. So honestly, whatever guess you could have put on, I wouldn't have cared. This is Jubilee, Wolverine, in one of the rare instances where he's not grinding his teeth. Psylocke, I think that's Colossus again. And then this is, I think that's Madeline Pryor. Yes, it is. Madeline Pryor, the Goblin Queen or whatever. Well, okay, give me a second. So Madeline Pryor, this is Mystique, and then this is the Goblin Queen. I would think there's like a difference between, well, I mean, they're really, you know what I mean? They're the same person, but it's like, she looks evil in this form, so I guess that's... I don't have no clue who this is, I'm telling you right now. I have no clue who this is. It looks like the Joker, but it's not the Joker. And surprisingly enough, I actually recently drew someone that looked like this, and like, I don't remember who I'm referencing off these drawings, but I keep getting these random drawings of like people that look like the Joker. And I'm just like, I've not been drawing any DC characters at all, so I don't know what that's about. And then this is Storm, and then, no, that's Phoenix. What am I talking about? That's Phoenix, and then that's Storm. Okay, so that's the end of the game. Did you win? Tell me, was that fun? That was probably really confusing to you, but it was confusing to me as well, honestly, because at the time I really had no clue who these people were. Not no clue, but like a lot of these people I didn't actually know. Like I didn't know Rachel Summers, or I still don't know who the heck is, what's her name? Gloriana? I still don't know who that is. Again, I don't even know who this Joker dude is, but whatever. Moving on. Day 13, nothing really changed within the following days. This is the one time where I attempted a self-portrait. I mean, I really wouldn't even consider it as one because I just used myself as a reference, but like, it was just for the head angle, so it really wasn't a self-portrait. If that counts, I don't know. You know, it's so weird looking back on these because if you keep watching, you'll see that I actually changed a lot within such a short time span. And not just in quality, but style overall. I'm telling you, it's a very strange thing to witness like in real time. Between days 13 and 14, I actually took a 2-day hiatus. And when I started drawing again, I was so disappointed in the drop in quality. I felt like a fraud, not frog. I'd been doing all these drawings and obviously looking back on them, they're not good, but at the time I really thought highly of myself. So when I returned to drawing and this was the result, I'm telling you, I was absolutely crushed. I wrote a little note here that Beast looks like Draco, my dog, which if you haven't seen, he's made like 2 appearances in like I think it was day 1 and day 2 of drawing, I want to say. So go watch those because he actually makes quite funny appearances. I went to the bathroom and left my sketchbook out, and when I came back, my sister had drawn Nick Fury. She even signed it. Day 15, when I was in the middle of drawing, there was something about my art that was really bothering me, and I could not get the feeling out of my head. So I took a step back and reflected on my drawing techniques that I had been doing these past few days. I realized I was focusing too much on copying the art than actually learning how to draw. I remember being so worried that by the time day 30 rolled around that my art in the sketchbook would look so ugly. So I ended up focusing more on making the art look good than actually learning the importance of how facial and head proportions work. Once I realized this, I did a complete re-evaluation, dropping the characters altogether and focusing on studying the different angles of the model, trying my best to narrow down as precisely as I could the right way to draw the heads from any angle. And lo and behold, I figured out a method. I need to put this down. Okay, and I actually made a small video explaining it if you'd like to go check it out, but it's a very basic method that requires you to build upon it yourself based on the kind of angle you're going for. It's also a little outdated for my taste, to tell you the absolute truth, but I think it's good for like, you know, beginners, day 1 beginners at least, if you want to have a proper understanding of how the head and angles and circles, you know, just how everything works. You can tell I'm not reading off a script at this point. Day 16, it was really a struggle at this point. Week 2, and yet I still felt like I was on day 1. But later that day, I got a little more confident with myself. And I actually ended up for the first time drawing without reference. And you're probably like, yeah, we can tell. Which, first of all, rude, but true. Day 17, around this time is when I started implementing this really helpful technique, which I thought I discovered, first of all. I really did think I discovered this. Then I started seeing other people recommend it, which is instead of copying the reference in front of you, I would first study the reference for at most 10 seconds, really trying to understand how to draw the angle of the head. Then I would put it away, close the tab, do whatever it is to get out of my sights, and trying to draw that head from memory, which is essentially the end goal here. I want to know how to draw heads from imagination, but you can't draw something from imagination if you don't have a memory to reference. The thing about me when drawing heads is that it's hard for me to properly visualize a head angle straight from imagination, so I would use a reference as a starting point to train myself to draw what I was imagining. Day 18. I'm sure you don't need to guess which characters are which by now, based on how much I've improved. Days 19 through 20 is when I really started grinding. I was just trying to draw as much as I could, filling the pages in with as many heads as possible. It looked good for the time being, but of course, I couldn't draw like this forever. I stopped making the characters look like themselves by not drawing the hair and the clothing, and just stuck to the heads. Day 21 is when I finally started learning about line confidence. I kept getting comments here and there, talking about how I should stop drawing in short, scratchy strokes, and instead draw with more single, solid strokes. Now, at first I found it really annoying because I found my first couple attempts didn't come out as good as I'd hoped. And if you know me, any regression in my art at all, I immediately lose self-confidence. I also tried to tell myself that there wasn't any point in trying to draw like this now, since my main focus was learning how to draw head angles. And trying to tackle them both at once really felt like I was setting myself up for failure. I was afraid to get out of my comfort zone, but I pulled through because I knew it was the right thing to do. And what do you know? Eventually I started getting better. Remember, baby steps. The problem with not learning line confidence is that it's very easy for your art to hide behind all that scratchiness. So instead of seeing the face as it is, your brain fills in the gaps to create the face. But when you draw where your lines are clear, it's very easy to see where your mistakes lie, so that you know right away where you can improve. As you can see, when I first started practicing line confidence, I would push a little too hard with the pencil. So a trick that I did to force myself to draw lighter was to make the lead on my mechanical pencil longer, making it more sensitive and prone to breaking the harder I drew. This instantly got me drawing lighter while also practicing my line confidence. It was either draw lighter or risk running out of lead. Luckily, I never broke the lead. Since I wrote that line, I've broken my lead so many times. I'm telling you, I've wasted so much alone just on breaking it. It is so annoying. With every day that passed, I kept getting better and better. I'm starting to lose my voice. Can you hear it? Like, I feel like I'm starting to lose my voice. With every day that passed, I kept getting better and better. Of course, you can still see some heads where the proportions are off or mistakes that look strange, or I would even go as far as to say uncanny. From that point on, I was just hammering out 30 plus heads a day using all the skills I learned until I finally reached day 30. The drawings themselves may not look perfect, but the skill of knowing how to draw heads from different angles is definitely there, even though they may not look as polished. And if you don't believe me, well, let's take a look back at day 8 then. Yeah, that's what I thought. Quite the improvement. I am telling you right now, this actually felt so much longer than it actually was. Even with the few days that I didn't draw, which was at most like 5 days, I still cannot believe that was only 30 days. Now, I'm not sure if you noticed, but at the top of every page, there are 2 numbers. The first is the day, and the second is how many heads I drew on that page. So I went through and added up how many heads I drew for my first 30 days. But before I tell you, I want you to make a guess. Just real quick, guess how many heads I drew in total. Do you have your number? I drew 1,077 heads. That's insane. I don't even know what I thought how much I would have drawn, but that is actually quite high for the number that I would not have thought. Now just imagine how many heads I could draw in a year. Well, one day you won't have to. I have an announcement to make. After everything I've been through these past few weeks learning how to draw, I can confidently say that I am pursuing a career as a comic book artist. Okay, well maybe not that confidently. I still feel a little hesitant even saying that out loud, let alone to someone else, or literally the entire internet. The entire internet. No one's gonna watch this video. But it's the truth. I'm being vulnerable with you guys. All 2 of you. And then again, literally no one's gonna judge me, so what am I even saying? I wanted to save the story of how this all came about near the end because I didn't want to bore you guys in the beginning by making this into, I don't know, a sob story. But pretty much what happened was I actually published my book, PSYPHER, and last month, before I decided to learn how to draw, it had been 4 months since I published my book, and not one person out of like 3 of my family members actually bought a copy. I've been struggling so bad in trying to market it, and realizing that it could take years even to get a few sales just made me feel like an absolute failure. I had worked on it for 4 long years and succeeded every step of the way, just to feel the very end was an absolutely horrible feeling. And if you saw my learning how to draw day 1 video, I explained that I always liked comics, and within the time that my book was published, I had grown such a deep love for comics, specifically for the X-Men, if you couldn't already tell. And so being so distraught in my failure, and as a last minute decision, I decided, almost on a whim, to become a comic book artist. If you're curious about my book and would like to possibly support me, I left the link below for you guys to check out its full description. Thank you guys so much for how many, like 80 subscribers I think I have. So thank you guys so much, and follow along this journey with me, and let's learn how to draw together. Bye. Mwah. Wait, what did I just say? Oh my gosh. They usually stop at the 30-day mark. They usually stop at the dirty day. Then actually learning the importance. Then actually learning the, okay. I had this stupid hanger here the entire time. Okay. I'm telling you, I'm gonna have like so many bloopers. It's hard for me to properly visualize a head angle straight from imagination. So I would use, oh my gosh, I would use a reference as a starting point to train myself to draw what I was imagining. Okay. I was just trying to draw as much as I could. Oh my gosh, I'm so loud. Okay, I had my earplugs in the entire time and I just realized how loud I am. I'm gonna put these back in. I drew 1,077 heads. Is that how you say the number? Am I like stupid? Wait, I'm so confused. Wait.